Yeah, I'm not good at these things either. I hit the button. It says I'm a panelist. I don't know if that means member, public, what it means, but
All right.
I hear you guys. Good at these things either. I hit the button. It says I'm a panelist. I don't know if that means member, public, what it means, but
All right.
I hear you guys. Good at these things either. I hit the button. It says I'm a panelist. I don't know if that means.
Hey, Darren,
Yes, sir.
I have Delene sharing her screen so we can see the agenda now.
I see that. Can you hear me?
I can.
Yes.
I just said a whole bunch of stuff, and it was repeated back to me 3 times in a row.
Yeah, I heard that too.
Kind of weird, huh?
You usually do that, so that's nothing unusual.
Good point.
All right. We are live.
Okay, we're live and we have a quorum. Let me do a roll call since we're remote. Capizzoli,
Yes, here,
present.
present.
Flynn,
Here.
Bovee,
Here.
Igneri,
Here,
Ostafine is here. Is Lou Clark here? Okay, I don't hear him. Hopefully he's watching. But we do have a quorum without Lou Clark. It is 5:31. We'll call the meeting to order. And I will ask for a motion to approve the meeting minutes held of May 11th, 2020.
So moved.
so moved.
Okay, that sounded like Flynn beat Mr. Igneri there.
All right.
Are there
He's slow on the uptake today.
any questions, comments, updates, revisions? Everybody had a chance to review them? Is everybody ready to call the question?
Yes.
Okay, all in favor? Ostafine, yes.
Bovee, yes.
Capizzoli, yes.
Igneri, yes.
Flynn, yes.
Okay, that passes unanimously. Thank you. Item number 2, election of officers and secretary for the period July 1, 2020 to June 30th, 2021. Is there a motion to elect officers?
I would like to move that the current officers be extended.
Okay, current. Are there any other motions or nominations for election of officers? Okay, hearing none. All in favor of Mr. Flynn's motion? Ostafine, yes.
Bovee,
Igneri, yes.
Yes.
Capizzoli, yes.
Flynn,
Okay.
yes.
Thank you. That passes unanimously. I'll try and do it differently. I'll call you guys so we don't talk over each other. Thank you. Item number 4, authorize the chairman or vice chairman of the Water Pollution Control Authority execute amendment to the January 27, 2016 agreement with Arcadis. The amount of $750,000 provide additional on-call services for engineering in accordance with the scope letter dated June 9th, 2020. Is there a motion to authorize the chairman or vice chairman?
So moved.
Okay, Mr. Igneri gets that one. Staff, is there a presentation associated with this item?
Yes. Including the board package, item 4 is just a cover letter from Arcadis for continuation of on-call services. Like you read, it's we have capital money starting July 1st of 2020, an amount of $750,000 for a wastewater treatment plant. And what we'd like to do is encumber those funds with Arcadis in order to do update our facility plan for the wastewater treatment plant. And then once that is completed, that's going to focus on future growth in the city, look at current and future flows to the treatment plant and loadings to make sure that we have the capacity over the next 10 to 20 years. There's areas that we want to work on as far as aeration tank, wet weather treatment. So with the facility plan, it'll be a high level. And then once that's done, we're going to target, go into more detail with those smaller design projects. In addition to the 750,000, we're asking to extend their contract for a couple years. So that way out to, January of 2022.
Are there any questions?
I have a comment. I think we discussed this item a month ago, and we reduced the initial money, didn't we, from $1 million, or was it more? Was it 750 to begin with? I think it was more, and we agreed on reducing it temporarily until we had a better idea what kind of requirements we're going to need, right? That's my recollection. Is that right?
What this is going to do for us is that we enter into an amendment to the existing contract we have with Arcadis, and then staff would issue task orders by individual projects. So the first task order would be approximately 250,000, and that's for a facility plan update. So not all 750,000 would be encumbered to spend immediately. It's by task order. So we're just
That's good.
to enter into an amendment first, and then we'll slowly spend that money.
That's good. That's good. I like that.
Okay, I have a question. You mentioned 2022. Is that 750,000 a capital and it gets carried over until 2022?
It's capital account, and those monies are held in capital accounts until it's spent. I'm asking because I don't want to have their contract continue indefinite. So right now we're set to expire January of 2021, and I'm asking for an additional 1-year extension to 2022. So that way we can continue the work that we have planned with the facility plan, and then going into some additional design work.
Right. My question is, $250,000 for a facilities plan. Are you asking for $250,000 for 2021 and $250,000 for 2022? This amount, do you expect to spend this amount over the next 2 years?
I plan on spending the 750,000 over the next couple of years. I just don't know. It's not allocating 250 for this year, 250 for the following year.
No, understood, but it's okay. It's not 750,000 that you're going to spend by December 31st, 2021.
Correct.
It's going to be December 31st, 2022 or something.
Or as needed. That was the understanding we talked about it initially a month ago.
Correct.
Because we don't know
Okay.
exactly what kind of design problems we're going to run into in 2 years. So it's there, but it may not be needed, or it may be needed. We may need to add some depending on what happens, right?
Correct, sir.
Right. Understood. I just was wondering if we were anticipating the need for $750,000 in 1 year or 2 years. So asked and answered. Thank you. Okay. Is there any other questions or comments? No? All right. I'll say all in favor, Mr. Capozzoli,
Yes.
Flynn,
Yes.
Bovee,
Yes.
Igneri,
Yes.
and Ostafine, yes. Thank you. Item number 5. Authorize a transfer of balances in the following accounts set aside in fiscal 2019-20 to fiscal year 2021 to be used for the same purpose the funds were intended for. $250,000 for CH Nickerson and $41,687 Software Consultant Associates. Account numbers is listed on the agenda. Is there a motion to authorize a transfer?
So moved.
By Mr. Igneri. Is there a presentation from staff?
Not really a presentation, just a quick minor discussion. This is more of an accounting exercise. Both vendors, CH Nickerson and the Software Consultant Associates, were approved for the specific amounts stated on the board agenda for fiscal year 1920 spending. However, the Software Consulting Associates still has not, they're working for multiple departments within the city, and timing, they're just coming to WPCA now to work with us. So that's why we're asking for the carryover into fiscal year 2021. CH Nickerson, this is for Outfall 002 project, which is slated for completion around early August of 2020. So that's why we're asking for those funds to be carried over into the new fiscal year.
Are there any questions for Ralph?
Ralph, this is Henry Dakowitz. Do you expect the funds to be expended by August 31st?
Not with,
The reason I'm asking, from an accounting point of view, if we have expenditures that extend 60 days after the close of a year, and we make those payments during those 60 days, they can be included in fiscal year 20. So obviously, if not, we can roll them to the next year.
I don't believe so, because Nickerson's still going to be working into August. So then once they start issuing final invoices, will probably be another 30 to 60 days out.
Fair enough. That makes sense. Got it.
Okay, I have a question. Is that okay? I don't know your account numbering system. Are these capital accounts or operating?
They're operating.
Okay, so let me say back to Mr. Dakowitz to make sure I understand. It's okay to roll over an operating account?
Actually, it's normally done by request to the accounting department, the controller, the budget director. In this case, because you're a separate authority and your revenues equal your expenditures. So if we've allocated this in last year's budget, I assume the revenue for the budget year is intended to cover all these expenditures. And if these expenditures roll forward to the next year, as Ralph indicated, this to me is more of form over substance. It's to get it booked in the proper year, but the funds should be available from last year that weren't spent.
Thank you for your explanation.
You're welcome.
Does everybody else understand?
Yes, can you hear me? Can you hear Flynn? I've lost the screen. I can't see anybody, but I can hear you clearly.
I see you and hear you.
Okay, then I'll leave it alone because I'm liable to screw it up. But if I touch it, it's got a big zoom on the screen. That's it.
Okay. No other questions for Ralph or Mr. Dakowitz?
None.
No?
Nope.
Okay, so there's a motion. We'll call the question. Capizzoli,
Yes.
Flynn,
Yes.
Bovee,
Yes.
Igneri,
Yes.
and Ostafine. Yes. All right. That takes care of the business contract operations report, item number 6. Ralph or somebody else?
We invited John Morrison, but I know he was away today, so I'm not sure if he was able to connect or not. I don't see him as a participant. So moving forward, item 6A in the board package, we have a 2-page executive summary from Suez.
Ralph, John is here. He was under attendees. I wasn't familiar with his name, so I just promoted him to panelist. So he will be able to speak.
Great. John, can you hear us?
He needs to unmute. There he is.
I can hear you, and there's my picture. Good evening, everybody. Sorry for the
Good evening.
confusion. I will, Ralph and I have been developing a monthly report, and we put together an executive summary for the board that covers our activities since May 18th. So I thought I'd give you a quick update. And then next month, we'll have a more comprehensive report that'll cover the whole month of June. But as with Ralph's report, if the board wants to see anything in addition to the report that we're presenting tonight, we're always happy to customize it and add any areas of interest that you'd like to see.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So just a few highlights. As you all know, we started our contract on May 18th at midnight. We had a good transition from Jacobs, and we've been operating the facility ever since. We did operate our COVID-19 operational continuity plan, which included training, equipment, supplies, and a number of procedures. And we worked closely with the city throughout this entire process to make sure that we kept everybody safe and that we kept the individual groups isolated so that we minimize any type of spread of the virus. We're currently at a severity level 3 as a Suez classification, which does require us to split some of our shifts and have some of our guys working alternating weeks. But we're hopeful that we'll be out of that severity level in the next week or two. So far, no problems with implementing that, and the staff has been very cooperative and helpful in working with us. Speaking of the staff, we were able to transition all of the employees, the union employees that were interested in coming over. That was about 17 of them in total. In addition, we welcomed our new employees, myself, Assistant Project Manager Matt Brown, Maintenance Manager Bob Moore, and our planner scheduler, Peter Verderosa. And we've also got 2 new employees that were hired on in the beginning of June, so we now have a full staff of 24 at the facility. We also had a digital day 1 ceremony that a number of you joined us for. I thought it went really well considering the circumstances, and it was at least a way for us to all talk a little bit about our first day, which was great. And we continue to have our regular transition meetings between the city's transition team and Suez's transition team, which has been very helpful. Regulatory events, we were in compliance with all permit limits for the month of May. All the reports were submitted and all the transitions from Jacobs to Suez were made, and all the reports were submitted under Suez or the city's name for the month of May. So that transition's been complete. We did have an reportable SSO, which is a sanitary sewer overflow that occurred on May 31st at 9 Lisa Court. It was a blockage in the main line that resulted in an overflow out of the customer's clean out in their front yard. It was approximately 25 gallons. There was no backup into the homeowner's house, and everything was reported to Connecticut DEEP. And lastly, unfortunately, we did have a contract exceedance for fecal coliform. It was not a permit exceedance, but our contract limits are lower than our permit limits. And for fecal coliform, our limit is 100. We had a value of 320 on May 22nd, which was a result of the loss of one of the chlorine pumps just prior to us taking the sample. The problem has been remedied. And as I mentioned, it's not a compliance report, but it is a contractual exceedance. Process-wise, did see a drop in the flow over the month. We averaged about 11.8 MGD for the month. Effluent BOD and TSS were both below 4, and our bacterias were also all within compliance. Total pounds of nitrogen averaged 502 pounds per day, which is a good number. It's significantly below the credit target, which is approximately 700 and well below the permit limit of 1,000. And with that 502 number, the calendar year average is running at about 670 pounds per day, which is the final number that we'll use to calculate the credit rebate or payment. I said the target's about 700. We're currently at about 670, but that did average in a very high number in February, which was about 940. So if we can continue the good progress and numbers like we saw in May, we should be headed in a good direction. That's about it. I tried to include only the important stuff, but if anyone has any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Ralph, one thing, did you say Matt Brown was another one that was supposed to be in this meeting?
Yes. I think
He,
we were
he
covered
is
by that.
on, under attendees. I can promote him to panelist. if you'd
Great.
like.
That works.
All right.
This is your first meeting and we've already had 2 promotions. I'm a little concerned financially.
I feel honored.
Does Matt have something to say?
No, I don't think so. I just wanted to introduce him. Matt, we're sorry we just got you into the room and I just went through my report, but welcome.
Hello, everybody. Thanks for having me.
Hello,
Welcome.
Matt. Does anybody have any questions? For John
I
Marcin.
do. I do. Recently, there was an article from Yale University noting that the coronavirus can be spread through sewage, fecal matter. Was anything made of that, or have you heard about that, or have we had to do anything to deal with it?
There has been, I'd say, spotty reports on that type of information. Connecticut DEP released a statement probably a month or so ago stating that based on all their records, they did not have one confirmed case of COVID being transmitted through an employee working at a wastewater treatment plant. So at least in the state of Connecticut, there's no data to support that claim. There is research being done on it. We certainly, as a business, we haven't had any employees of Suez or at Norwalk that we believe have contracted the virus from working in their wastewater plants. So that's, keeping a close eye on that and any type of research, specific to our business and this virus, but not a lot of data to back that up at this point.
Okay, thank you.
Anybody else? Any more questions for John Marcin? Oh, thank you, Mr. Marcin, for your report. Ralph, do you want to go on to number 7?
Sure. Item 7A is the fiscal year 1920 Munis report. It's included in the board package. One item to point out on the revenues page, septage is tracking lower than we anticipated. Some impact could have been from COVID-19, but one of the good things is since Suez has been on site, we're keeping all the septic haulers honest. They have to contact the operator. The operator is grabbing a sample of the septage, checking the pH, making sure we're not getting illegal dumping of fat soils and grease at the treatment plant. In addition, Suez is collecting the septage manifest that we can use for billing purposes each month. So that's definitely a change at the facility for the best.
Can I ask a question about that?
Sure.
Mr. Marcin, a couple of years ago, we discussed, actually the city of Norwalk was thinking about aggressively pursuing fat soils and greases as a revenue stream. Since you're a new guy, do you agree that we shouldn't be going after that business, or do you think that's something that's worthy of pursuing or discussing?
Well, I think the current facilities aren't set up to receive that and adequately treat that. In fact, we struggle to treat our own grease in the facility at times. So there would definitely need to be capital improvements and additional equipment installed to begin taking in that type of a product. Those types of technologies can be expensive. You do have some other areas in Connecticut that are also in that business. So you may find you don't necessarily have the market to support your capital investment. So
Okay, we were told New Haven. Does that sound right to you? Is that still true?
I believe so. I'd have to verify that. I can look into that further.
Okay.
I could find some examples of it for the next month's meeting too, and provide a little bit of information. Because we actually, when we were pursuing the Naugatuck treatment plant, we did a little bit of a study on that to see if that type of facility might be beneficially financially beneficial to that project, and it turned out it wouldn't. So, but I'll dig some of that stuff up and share it with you for sure.
Okay, thank you for your answer. Don't waste too much time on it. It sounds like you agree with the previous situation. So I was just wondering, a fresh set of eyes, what you thought, and thanks.
Okay.
Anybody else have any questions? No? Anybody? Okay, you want to
We'll move
continue,
along.
Ralph?
Yes, sir. Item 7B, discussion on project closeout with OMI. So last month in May, we brought to the board's attention, there was about eight or so items that we were in the process of working with OMI to either close out or to agree with some kind of ETR settlement. And we were able to, the biggest item was related to the collection system. And OMI had been working for the last 3 or 4 months trying to organize all 20 years worth of CCTV video and cleaning records into both an external hard drive that they could transfer to the city, plus CityWorks, just having everything documented to the best of their knowledge prior to them closing out the project. So with all those ongoing discussions and a lot of effort by both sides, OMI did almost 95% meet their obligation. There were some mileage that they were short. So at the end of the day, that along with some of the other items, they end up contributing $260,000 to the ETR account. And then on top of that, there was another $10,000 contribution that was related to temporary, or the small blowers that we had purchased a couple years ago, about 3 years ago now, that we were unable to sell, and it was going to be where OMI and the city would share in the cost. So we just, they took them off site, and we end up getting some monies for that in lieu of the equipment.
So Ralph beat him up good, guys. That's the takeaway here. And Mr. Carr.
It was a team effort. It's definitely a team effort.
No, I honestly, I commend you guys for bringing that to a peaceful resolution. You know, I've said that before. It's very important to give and take, and it seems like both sides came out well, and that's just great news for us. We don't need any more conflict. So
Correct.
that's my take. Anybody have any questions for Ralph on that? No? Okay, Ralph.
All right, item 7C, discussion on WPCA projects. Item 1 is our sanitary sewer system rehab, various locations. Green Mountain Pipeline Services is back in town. And they took a 2-month break during the COVID-19 pandemic. Things have calmed down. They felt comfortable about coming back to the state. So everybody, you may see them in the city doing both lining, TV work. AJ Penn is their subcontractor. So we got some excavation work that's going to be scheduled over the next 3 weeks. So that project is moving forward. Outfall 002, the chlorination and dechlorination improvements. CH Nickerson has continued to be on site and continues to work to start up. We're anticipating early August of 2020. So that'll be nice once that project's online. And what that brings is for wet weather, which we haven't had any, it's been very dry. Like John mentioned earlier, our flows are down. That's going to improve chlorination, and we're going to add dechlor now to the end of outfall 002 wet weather treatment. And then item 3 is SCADA upgrade phase 3. Phase 1 and 2 is complete, and we held off doing phase 3 until Suez came on board. And we've had multiple meetings with the Suez team to discuss where we're headed with phase 3. And we're tweaking a little bit our plans, but we want to incorporate their ideas and comments into our phase 3. So that's going to be moving forward as well. Any questions on any of the projects? Item 7D, sewer use bills and appeals to date is $112,077. There are no information copies and
Does anybody have any questions or comments about anything on the agenda or not on the agenda? Anything anybody wants to say? Nothing. Well, I'll say thanks for nominating me. And Lou, if you're listening, you're stuck for another year. And congratulations to Daleen. Nobody has anything to say. Okay. Motion to adjourn.
So moved.
All right, Mr. Igneri won that one.